just a bit. But here we are going to look outside and see where we're still seeing some wet weather. Things are starting to improve across the area. I think about after 7 to 8 p.m. we'll start to see major improvements across the area as far as those showers and maybe a few of those isolated storms finally moving further south of our area. Current temperatures in the 50s, a little chilly out there, still pretty breezy. 53 in Blount County, low 60s though in Tuscaloosa, 64 in Utah. Looks like the warmest spot is down in Demopolis, 68 degrees. It's not too bad for a Friday evening. If you have plans, I still suggest having that umbrella and that rain jacket, although as I mentioned, after about 8 p.m. a lot of that wet weather should have moved out of our area. Winds generally coming out of the north, slightly north and west, still breezy. We have sustained winds closer to 15, but gusts still slightly above 20 miles per hour. So that chill will be in the air for this evening. So if you don't bring out the rain jacket, you will want a sweater nonetheless, because it will be pretty cold this evening and again early Saturday morning. Let's talk about the next 24 hours here. Looking ahead, notice this is our 6 o'clock hour, still seeing some wet weather, but by 8 p.m. drying up. Temperatures dropping down into the 50s, eventually 40s as we bring in your early Saturday morning. We're going to have high pressure building in, drier conditions for both your Saturday and your Sunday. Looking great. Here's Saturday, 9 a.m. seeing those 40s, but notice we're actually going to drop down to the low 40s early Saturday, staying in the low 40s early Sunday with that better chance for some patchy frost, mainly north central Alabama. It looks like we're a lot milder and slightly above average heading into Monday and Tuesday of next week, with Monday afternoon highs nearing 80 degrees. It's going to be beautiful. We still have some chilly mornings by mid to late next week, still some 40s trickling in here or there. And then it looks like by Friday and Saturday, temperatures could rebound back into the 50s. We'll be showing you a look at those afternoon highs and how much warmer the weekend afternoons will be a little bit later right here on Weather Extra. But hail, also a large part of yesterday's storms. Take a look at this picture. It really gives you a good idea of the size of it. From pea-sized hail to half-dollar size, these are all images shared across the First Alert weather app on just how dangerous those severe storms can be. Meteorologist Megan Thomas joins us now with how much rain fell and how much we can actually expect over the next coming week.
It was an active day yesterday with scattered showers and thunderstorms that came through. I wanted to check back in with some of our weather watchers for their rain totals over the last 24 hours. In Jemison, 2/10 of an inch from Lynn Hall. Piedmont, Rick Freeman saw almost 6/10 of an inch. We've got Northport, Bud Bean at under 2/10, and then Talladega back from Joseph Williamson, 0.35 inches of rain. Pinson, you barely got anything, but it was something, about 7/100 of an inch of rain, and then that's from Johnny Farrell. And then our friend John King, right around 0.18 inches of rain. Now, where do we stack up for the month of April thus far as rain goes? Birmingham has picked up 3.23 inches of rain. Tuscaloosa almost at 3.8. Both averages for Birmingham and Tuscaloosa are right around 5 inches, and we are about almost halfway through the month, and we're doing really good on rain totals. Anniston, 3.64 inches of rain, where the average is about 4.43. Now, as over the next 5 to 7 days, couple different disturbances come through. One potentially Tuesday, and then one later next week. And right now, model data suggesting at best a trace of a rain shower in spots up to, I'd say at best, a 1/4 inch. But for right now, it does look fairly quiet over the next week.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about this. The storms we're seeing today, the storms we actually saw yesterday, are what's called northwest flow. It comes from a northwest flow pattern. So I kind of want to get a little bit more details on this. Let's get down to the weather lowdown on this northwest flow, what it means, and how it can bring us this active weather.
Yeah, Tania, sometimes meteorologists like to say the phrase northwest flow is a weatherman's woe, because it's kind of a pain to forecast, not gonna lie. So a lot of our weather models had a tough time really getting a hold on how it was going to develop. But what are we talking about with northwest flow? Well, storms are coming in from the northwest and pushing to the southeast, and sometimes you can see that setting up in the atmosphere. So what can often happen, what we're looking at is higher up in the atmosphere. We're talking about 18,000 feet. When you get a northwest flow pattern to set up, you have a ridge of high pressure off to your west, and then you have a trough of low pressure setting up oftentimes to our east, and we can be stuck in between those two. So in the northern hemisphere, air moves clockwise clockwise around high pressure. That's where you're seeing the orange here. Where you see low pressure in the northern hemisphere, where you're seeing the blues, air moves counterclockwise around that. So if you're kind of stuck in between the two, that's where you get some northwest flow coming downstream off of that ridge. And so what happens is you can have these storm clusters to develop on that northern periphery of the ridge, and they move southward. And so if you're in the bullseye between that little area between the trough and the ridge, like we were yesterday, then that's where you can see northwest flow to develop. And that can oftentimes bring storms. So when we see northwest flow patterns, it can bring these little disturbances through on the ridge. And so when you get those disturbances, that allows there to be more uplift in the atmosphere, and that can allow storms to develop, because what do you need for storms to develop? You need rising motion. And so that's what we saw yesterday, these storms coming in from the northwest and pushing to the southeast. We often see northwest flow patterns really become dominant in our area, especially in May. So hopefully what we're beginning to see is a transition from those more extreme severe weather events, the tornadic events, and more to the northwest flow. Oftentimes what you see when a northwest flow pattern develops is the potential for more so damaging winds and large hail versus a tornado threat. Of course, we'll always continue to keep you updated if we see otherwise, but that could be a sign that we're beginning to shift to more of a late spring type of weather pattern. Well, across the country next month, marking 1 year since the Greenfield tornado, Don Magel joins us now as he speaks with the community, and they continue their efforts to rebuild.
It's one of the oldest buildings in Greenfield, built in the 1890s. And now it has a new purpose thanks to a determined couple.
We had our soft opening last Saturday, and there's a couple of vendors that about sold out of their products.
Kendra Daniels is the co-owner of the new Greenfield Mercantile. It's a small business collaborative. The main draw is a vendor space that offers historical built-in cabinets to an eclectic variety of local small businesses. Each has unusual items for sale. Many are handmade, like these spring tapestries and signs. Daniels bought the building just before the 2024 tornado hit. Now she's excited to be a part of the Greenfield rebirth.
Kind of like a phoenix coming back out of the ashes. There's a couple of vendors that maybe saw at least a little bit of damage at home, or family members had damage at home, and it just gives everybody new opportunity and another meeting place around town as well.
It's been really great to see that building not just sit empty.
Gina School is with the Greenfield Chamber Main Street. She'll never forget the day the tornado devastated much of the town, but she says residents never gave up, and the new Greenfield Mercantile is a reminder of the optimistic spirit here.
We're just happy to have businesses thriving here in town still. A lot of people I've seen other tornado affected towns. They were, basically some of them shut down. Like, a lot of people didn't come back. So I really think this speaks to our resiliency.
Well, back here in Alabama, we've been talking about the potential for, of course, some frost this weekend, so a big first alert for that. But once we get past Sunday morning, which will likely be one of our coolest mornings, check it out. As we go into next week, we do have a bit of a warming trend in the forecast. So Monday in particular looks a lot warmer. I think a lot of us could actually end up getting on the other side of 80 degrees. Winds are going to be shifting to back out of the south on Monday. So anytime you have that southerly component to the wind, that warmer, sometimes more humid air ends up coming in from off of the Gulf, and that can help to boost temperatures. But then there will be another little front that'll come through, so you'll notice high temperatures on Tuesday and Wednesday down into the low 70s. So it's a little bit of a cool down, but I almost even hesitate to say a cool down because our average temperature is 74 degrees as we get into mid-May. So that's our average high temperature, and so that's actually pretty close to that. But then you'll notice later in the week we do see another warm up. So as long as the weather behaves, we'll take the warm up. But this comes as new research suggests that extreme heat can also affect how fast we age. That's according to the University of Southern California. Researchers looked at blood samples from more than 3,600 older adults across the U.S. They then looked at the participants' epigenetic age, meaning the way their environment and lifestyle altered their genes. Extreme cold is another area to study when it comes to genetic changes and aging. So what you're saying is we need to turn up the heat in the studio? Sounds good to me. Coming up, we're taking you beyond the atmosphere and what to look for in the weekend night sky, and details on what could be a historic human spaceflight. We'll be right back. Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan here. For your Friday evening, we do have a first alert for some showers around. I really think as we continue to go into the night and this drier air filters in behind the cold front, the showers are going to become more limited. But there are some spots that we want to zoom in and give you a first alert for where some showers could be around here for the next 30 minutes. We had been watching some heavier rain moving through Jefferson County, but you can see as it's drifted southward into Shelby County, it's beginning to peter out a little bit. We do have a little light to moderate rain shower falling closer to Hayden and a little closer to Brentwood. This is all mainly east of I-65. If we zoom out, we still did have some thunder showers that are pushing south of Alexander City. They're actually moving towards Auburn. So if you have any friends or family out that way, they may be seeing some rain here shortly. And then we have another area as well where we've got some heavier rain falling near Brush Creek. This is south of Phipps and Mertz. Also a little bit of rain up towards Highway 69 in Havana. The good news is we're seeing a lot of the lightning fading away on this, so hopefully no lightning threats for all the things we have going on tonight, Tania, across central Alabama.
I know, Lauren, there is an event happening tonight, and I pulled up our First Alert Sky Vision camera, and you can actually see people. These are the early birds. Let me just go ahead and tell you, this concert doesn't start till 8 o'clock. It's 6:40, so these are the early birds probably trying to get their cool seat, the best seat in the house to watch the Theo Von concert. We'll talk about the concert forecast in just a bit, but current conditions, 60 degrees, dew points just below, really just below 50. Wind still a little variable, a little breezy out there, but otherwise not too bad. It looks like they're getting some breaks in the clouds. There could still be a passing shower later on this evening. So if you're heading out to the Theo Von concert, you will want to bring a towel because those seats are likely going to be a little wet from any passing shower earlier today. And you're going to want a light sweater or a jacket with temperatures dropping down into the lower 50s by the end of that concert. But it should be a great time nonetheless. Not bad. We're looking a lot drier for the weekend. If you're heading out to the Red Shoe Run here in Jefferson County at Railroad Park, temperatures will start off in the 40s, maybe some upper 30s if you're in north central Alabama. But if you're here in Birmingham, you're still going to want a light sweater and jacket, especially if you're cheering on your family and friends and you're not doing a whole lot of movement. You might catch that whip of chilly air. By 9 a.m., temperatures just below 50 degrees, but the afternoon will be a little bit warmer with highs in the 60s. Now, the warmest day of the weekend, Sunday. If you're heading out to Birmingham Spring Festival out at Railroad Park, you can expect afternoon highs. Gorgeous, not too hot, not too cold. We're talking about 70s, plenty of sunshine, winds out of the south. Like Lauren was mentioning, we have that southerly wind component really beginning to heat us up heading into the second half of your weekend. But not only are we seeing events here on Earth, beyond the atmosphere, a cool event shaping up for our moon as the first full moon rises this weekend. It's being called the pink moon. Now, will it be pink? No. It'd be cool if it was, though. But even though it won't be pink, it will be smaller than normal, making it a micro moon, which is the opposite of the supermoon. You can check it out tomorrow evening. The sky should be perfect with its peak hitting at 7:22 p.m. Central Standard Time. So be sure to send your pictures to the First Alert Weather app so we can share them next week right here on First Alert Weather Extra. But as we continue exploring the newest How We Know the Weather exhibit at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, your Mickey Ferguson joins us now as he takes a look at the first stopping point, how we measure the weather.
Mickey Ferguson here with Weather Extra in Huntsville, Alabama at the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. Brand new exhibit up here put on by the Barron Institute called How We Know the Weather. Just happened to have the man himself, Bob Barron. We're starting out in this exhibit, Bob, with where we've been in weather, where we all started, and some of this stuff you had experience with firsthand.
Exactly. Yeah, these are all the instruments that we started with: thermometers, barometers, rain gauges, and particularly the barograph here was one that I actually used back in the mid-'80s for Hurricane Elena, knowing what its position was in relationship to the television station that I was working for at the time. Well, it worked pretty well. Actually, Elena hung around forever and would come in and go out, come in, go out, and we could tell by the changes in the barometric readings where the storm was moving. Toward us or away from us were the two major directions we were interested in.
Well, we started out with weather vanes and wind socks and barometers and rain gauges and anemometers, things that we studied wind and wind direction. what are some of the exhibits here? Are these thermometers? And
Yeah, there's an early thermometer, and actually a little bit further down here, there's an explanation of the different thermometers that we ended up with. The Fahrenheit scale was 0 was the coldest, and as he moved, he needed to have a point that was the warmest, and then you do numbers in between. And the warmest that he could duplicate anywhere was the human body. So his 100, yeah, and it turns out to be 98.6. He had it at 100, so he was, it was a little bit close. But then if you have those two measurements, the freezing point of water is 32, and the boiling point of water is 212.
okay.
Centigrade had a different approach, but it's here in the exhibit.
Sure, so you can see all of that. Now what's this right here? This looks like an old anemometer right here that judges wind, speed, and direction, correct?
Yes, it is, and this is a great example of how things have changed over time. This measured the speed of the winds, the anemometer, and the direction of the winds, but this is the solid state duplicate of that, and you can see it's smaller, it's solid state, there's no moving parts. It measures the movement of the wind with 4 little sensors that are located in the center part, and as the wind flows over those sensors, it measures the direction and the speed, and the power for it is the solar power.
Well, Bob, this kind of gives a brief overview, but there's so much more detail in this exhibit if you want to come out here to the U.S. Space and Rocket Center. Coming up next, Bob, let's go from where we were to where we are now in the digital age. We'll spend time with you on our next exhibit, okay,
I'll
Bob?
look forward to that.
Okay, from the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, Mickey Ferguson together with Bob Barron for Weather Extra.
Wow, well, check this out. Keeping things above the atmosphere, Blue Origin has a historic human space flight launching this Monday, and the mission will be all women. It's a fully autonomous 11-minute journey above the internationally recognized boundary of space. The crew will experience weightlessness and witness views of Earth through windows. The 6 women going up includes Gayle King, Katy Perry, Jeff Bezos. Is this a joke? Is this a joke? Jeff Bezos' fiance, Lauren Sanchez, film producer, Carrie Ann Flynn, former NASA rocket scientist, Asia Bowe, and the bioastronautics research scientist, Amanda Wynn.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. We're continuing to track some spotty showers around. They were pretty scattered earlier, but as we're getting more of that cooler and drier air filtering in, a lot of that rain is beginning to fade away. Just good news for your Friday evening plans. I would still keep the umbrella and rain jacket around just in case, but notice we're already down to 53 in Adiana, 55 in Gadsden, 59 in Birmingham, and 64 in Utah. So just a few spotty showers mainly left south of I-20. There could be maybe a little stray shower trying to move in from the northwest, but if you do see anything, it's mainly going to be light rain, and most of these shouldn't be lightning producers anymore. But definitely have the jacket if you're out tonight, even if not the rain jacket, just the regular old jacket. It is cool and it is breezy. Temperatures have dropped about 10 to 20 degrees from where we were this time last night when Tania and I were in here tracking storms. So very different setup in the atmosphere now. All those storms last night were ahead of this cold front coming through, and so now it's here and we're feeling that breeze, those northwest winds coming in. We've got gusts right now up to about 25 miles per hour in some spots. Now there's still going to be a little bit of a breeze around tomorrow, but generally the trend over the weekend, winds will be dying down. So looking at that weekend forecast, highs are still going to be a little cooler than normal tomorrow in the mid 60s, but hey, Saturday and Sunday, plenty of sunshine. So as we've been saying, if you want to get outdoors, it's going to be great weather to do it. Now you'll notice Sunday afternoon, not looking too shabby. High temperatures getting into the mid 70s. The problem is when we start off Sunday morning, we do have that first alert for the possibility of some frost. But Saturday at least, things will be quiet. We'll start off tomorrow morning cool. There's going to be plenty of sunshine and high temperatures even by 12 o'clock. Likely only going to see temperatures near 60 degrees, and then by the afternoon getting into the mid 60s. So we mentioned that possibility of some frost developing on Sunday morning. I think if we were to see some patchy frost developing anywhere, Anniston, Coleman, and Gadsden, we have a first alert for temperatures getting down into the mid upper 30s. So that's likely where we're going to see that better chance. Otherwise, if you have some more sensitive plants in your yard, which I know some of you have already been getting out and going buck wild in your gardens, cover them up or bring in any of those plants that are a little bit more sensitive to the cold. Now, we do have the possibility of some rain as we go into next week, possibly some isolated showers on Tuesday. We talked about that northwest flow pattern. You see these little disturbances that come in from the northwest and push to the southeast. Looks like right now Wednesday and Thursday will be trending dry, but then the possibility of maybe a few showers later in the week. As of right now, we're not seeing any threats for severe weather, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed that it stays that way. I feel like we always end up eating our words, but at least for now, forecast looking good into next week. Really just the main thing to be mindful of over the weekend is that first alert for some patchy frost developing as we get into your Sunday morning. And then Monday looking pretty warm. Highs getting into the low 80s. Once we get past Monday and we see a little disturbance come in on Tuesday, that'll usher in another front, and so that's going to put temperatures more seasonable as we go into next week. So Tania, it's nice to finally end the weekend a lot quieter than it has been recently. I know we're happy to see some nice weekend weather.
Oh yes, listen, you can't complain. It might be a little chilly, but we're talking about dry, lots of sunshine, good weekend to get your yard together. If you need to mow that lawn, wash your car.
Yeah, which I hear all that. I'm like, I don't want to do anything.
No, have some fun.
Yeah, have some fun too. But lots of fun events going on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Tons of fun events. We'll have more on that full 7-day forecast, another final look at our weather right here on Weather Extra after the break.